Hey fam, welcome back. In today's video, I thought I would do a Chatty get ready with me, kind of catch up from the last couple weeks. Had some camera issues, technical difficulties, but we're back. So if you'd like to catch up with me and see how I created this look, go ahead and stay tuned. We're gonna get into it right now. Do a Chatty get ready with me today because it has been a minute. I apologize for that. We will talk about it, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to film. I planned on doing a shop my stash video because I really enjoyed doing that last time, but honestly guys, I just wanted to talk to y'all. And please forgive my hair. I just washed it, so I like set it in this little bun clip situation. So anyway, how are y'all? What have y'all been up to? How was your April so far? This year has been so interesting. I feel like oftentimes like we'll start out with goals for the year, but like, I don't know, for me personally, I feel like I often run out of steam like within the first quarter of the year. This year, I feel like as time is going on, much to my surprise, my goals are getting clearer and I'm making really good strides toward them. I do think it's largely in part to the fact that I was willing to make a big change in my life at the beginning of the year, being that I stopped shopping. But I think it was a good thing because it's really motivated me to make changes. And those changes have ultimately made me a lot happier. So in March, I had started running a little bit. I talked to you guys a little bit about that in my update for February. That I really, toward the end of February, started feeling inspired to get back into exercise, which was really helpful because it aligns with my goals, it's good for my health, and it's really good for managing stress. So I had started out by like trying to like run again. I used to be an avid runner. I guess I shouldn't say avid, but running used to be a big part of my exercise. It used to be a big part of my week. I would either run before work or after work, usually like 2 to 3 miles a day. And it was just something that I did, 4 or 5 days a week. I haven't really been a big runner for the past couple of years. Some just because I lacked motivation, but a lot of it was because of personal injury. Injury to my back, injury to my foot. So I started with doing like a walk run after work, but I think giving myself the grace to walk if I needed to walk and then run when I had the energy to run again helped me to kind of push past my apprehension with trying to get back into it. And what I think really gave me the motivation to get out there and start running again was that I finally felt brave enough to step back on the scale. Now, I won't be discussing like weight numbers and all that kind of stuff here because honestly, it's nobody's business. Your weight's nobody's business, my weight's nobody's business. But I will say that I was afraid to step on the scale because I didn't want to come to terms with what it might say. So I had just kind of been like avoiding it for months. And I finally felt brave enough to see what I was working with. It was very motivating. And once I saw that number, I immediately made the decision to start trying to exercise a little bit more. I have lacked motivation. It's mainly because I just don't put myself first. Oftentimes I put work first, I put other people first. And I find that when it comes to me, I feel like I can put myself off. I know I can, come back to dealing with whatever it is, I'm trying to do later when all of the work is done. And it really forced me to prioritize myself because I saw what not prioritizing myself had done to my weight. And it wasn't something that I really wanted to sit by and, continue to allow to affect me and not do something about it. So like I said, I started with this run walk thing and girl, my minute mile was, I think, the slowest it had ever been, like maybe even slower than when I had very first started running ever. I don't know because I don't have those stats from back then, but whew. But what was funny is when I went and ran the very next day, my minute mile improved by like 3 or 4 minutes. So it seemed like my body was willing to work with me. Maybe it was grateful that I was giving it some exercise and it was willing to sort of, I guess, rebound from a lot of lost time. And you know, it was nice. It felt really good actually. Like I started to remember what I loved about exercise. And that's not just that, you know, it could potentially help me to return to a shape that made me more confident and that I preferred on myself, but it also helps so much with stress. The tension we feel after work, you have like a rough work day, or just, you know, the day was long, you're exhausted, you're frustrated, whatever the case may be. I think that getting a little bit of exercise, especially after work for me, I forgot how like freeing it felt to just take that little bit of time for yourself, to have a little bit of quiet and to just sweat a little bit. So I did this for a few weeks. And I also kept in touch with my trainer, who is wonderful. I love him to death. We've been working together for a very long time. And recently, due to a change in his schedule, we haven't gotten to get together as much. And that was one of the main reasons that I, you know, kept working with him. You know, I do know how to lift weights and train myself. I did so in 2014, but what I was really struggling with was accountability, motivation, and showing up, you know, to the gym when left to my own devices. And working with him, it helped me because I had somebody who was meeting me there, somebody I was responsible to, somebody I had an appointment with. And that really helped me to work out at all. I think without Brian, I wouldn't have worked out for years. And I am forever grateful to him for that, for everything, for teaching me about weightlifting. I came to him at the very, very beginning when I didn't have any idea how to do anything other than like a bicep curl with a 5-pound weight. I had no clue about anything to do with weightlifting. And he was like my Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know what I mean? And so I just kind of wasn't going to the gym. Like it was kind of nice, I'll be honest, because I had been going in on Saturdays, which worked really well with my schedule. But it was kind of at sometimes interfering with my ability to film. Like sometimes I feel like I have like one big thing in me a day that I can do. And if I, you know, spend a lot of energy going to the gym and then maybe run some errands afterwards, by the time I would get home, I just didn't have like the mental energy to film. And when we weren't working out and I could just kind of get an earlier start and focus 100% on YouTube that day and then edit all day Sunday, I felt like I could be really consistent getting Monday uploads and such. So it was kind of working out in a way for YouTube to not be lifting with Brian. But what it wasn't working out for was me, was my health, my body, my weight. A lot of things started to kind of unravel a little bit. And, you know, maybe it was a good thing because it was a valuable lesson in sort of being your own motivator. So it started, like I said, when I weighed myself and was just shooketh at the number I saw. And I mean, I'm not going to be too hard on myself because, I mean, this is not the only time in my life I've been the weight I am right now. I was this weight, you know, probably a decade ago before I really discovered weightlifting and such. But I'm not the size I was back when I weighed this. I'm like 2 sizes smaller than I was the last time I weighed what I weigh now. So I know that part of it is that my body has changed. You know, my body composition, my muscle to fat ratio is different than it was a decade ago before I knew anything about lifting weights. So that definitely was not lost on me. But at the same time, you know, I haven't been happy for several years now. You know, when I started my channel, I was probably 30 pounds lighter than I am now, TBH. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with this one first. I want a little bit of that like fun purple. And my trainer has been able to fit me in a few weekends. He's like covered some shifts and such. So I haven't not seen him at all, but over the last, say like month or two, it definitely like cut way back. I think I might have seen him like 2 or 3 times instead of every weekend in the last like 2 months. So my weight just started to really pile on, and I didn't realize like how big of a difference just that once a week was making. I kind of thought it was a little bit like, okay, you know, it's probably just like helping a little bit, but I felt like, you know, if I wasn't doing like 4 days a week, you know, was it really doing anything for me? And it turns out it really was, because it was keeping things at bay. That when I stopped altogether, I think I gained like 7 pounds more than I had at my like biggest when I hurt my back. I like wasn't hardly active at all. And what I really needed to do was like find my own motivation, find my own inner cheerleader. I think the running helped, and I'm still like reporting to my trainer everything that I'm doing. And obviously Doug and I walk as often as we can. We usually try to walk once a day on our lunch break because it's good for my back to walk. If I'm stationary too much, it'll really start to bother me. It'll regress. Back injuries, if you've never had one, I really underestimated them before it happened to me. It can really be debilitating, depressing, really rough. My heart goes out to anybody who's experienced that or is experiencing that right now. It really is very, very tough, mentally and physically. So from the point of starting to run again and seeing the change in my weight, I decided also to incorporate some more changes, and that was namely to go back on my plant-based diet. So I started last year, I think in the spring of 2021, to go plant-based. I'd seen a really impactful documentary called What the Health. I had seen a video about juicing. I can't recall the name of it right now. Seen a couple other documentaries and just information, and I decided I wanted to try going plant-based. I basically changed like overnight. And I saw a lot of improvements, not only in losing some weight, which for me, was an improvement, but also in my overall feelings. My mood was so different than it had been. I slept better. My stomach felt a lot better. Like, it was just a really good thing. And I had never really considered going plant-based before I did. And then when we went to Mexico last year in July, it was the first time I really cheated on this plant-based diet that I was doing. And it's not really a diet, it was a lifestyle change. And then I kind of went more vegetarian after that, except for like weekends where I kind of was like whatever, but for the most part I was still eating plants predominantly during the week and eating like kind of whatever I wanted Saturday and Sunday night. But I think even without, bringing any kind of like meat back in, the dairy I think was the biggest change for me. And I honestly think that's where a lot of the weight gain came from, because I had dropped about 15 pounds from going plant-based. And since then, since stopping going plant-based, I gained like 20 pounds. So I decided to revisit that diet because I'm much more of like a carb person than a meat person. So it was a really easy change for me. Some people love meat. I've never been a big meat person anyway. I love seafood and I do love steak. But like chicken, turkey, pork, not a huge fan. So I decided that I was gonna try going plant-based again. I found this wonderful creator named Julia Ayers, I think is how you pronounce her name. I'll leave her linked in the description box below. I adore her. She's in Canada. She does a lot of like what I eat in a week, and she has a ton of like really interesting vegan recipes. And I just find her really inspiring. I'm actually enjoying this time around more than I enjoyed the first time, because I think the first time I was like mostly like roasting vegetables, so I was using a lot of oil, which is fine, but kind of everything kind of got to like tasting sort of the same. I didn't really know what else to do. And I think watching a lot of new channels that I've discovered this time around and watching more recipe videos has just kept me really inspired. It's had me trying a lot more raw vegetables. It's had me cooking with a lot more like sauces instead of oil. And it's just like really fun, actually. I've been enjoying it a lot. I also decided to kind of step away a little bit from Doug and I ordering out so much. He's still ordering out on the weekends, but I really haven't been participating, because I would find that to be one of the most frustrating things when I did the plant-based stuff before, was that the restaurants around me, there's such limited options. If you want to avoid dairy and meat, everything either has cheese on it, obviously like meat or milk or something. And like, I would be ordering like sweet potato fries and like broccoli, like 2 sides for dinner. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like, it's a waste of money. I don't want this stuff. I'd rather just like make something for myself that has more protein and that has more flavor, and just that there's more options. It makes me sad that at least in my area, there's not like a ton of options. But overall, I would just kind of feel frustrated with the options around here. And it would just be like stressful trying to order something every weekend. And it's just been easier making my own food. Like last night he got IHOP, which I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted. But I made a red lentil pasta with like a homemade pasta sauce with tomatoes and red pepper and different herbs and stuff, and nutritional yeast, and it was a really good dinner. And I didn't think it would fill me up, and it really did. I've just been having fun like experimenting in the kitchen. But what's even more exciting, I was putting together a spring palette video, and then randomly, like I had everything scripted, I had pulled all the palettes, I was ready to rock and roll. This was like 2 weeks ago. And I go to turn on my camera to film. I had all my lights set up and my camera wouldn't turn on. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh. I like wanted to have a really pretty like spring look. For you guys, I had like this shirt with like puffy sleeves and all this stuff. I was trying to be like springlicious. And yeah, I could not get it to turn on. I thought my batteries, maybe like I had forgotten to charge them. So I went and like recharged my batteries. I was like, okay. So once they charged, I went and tested it again. My camera still wouldn't turn on. I was freaking out. So then I posted in my community tab, like letting you guys know that there wouldn't be like a Monday video, because if I can't film a video, I can't edit a video, can't upload a video. I plan to take my camera to a camera repair shop because I didn't know what to do. I was Googling stuff and looking for YouTube videos. Everything that was being recommended, I'd already tried. So I was like, this is not good. But the following weekend, which was last weekend, I had an extra day off of work. I had a date that had to be used within the first quarter of the year, and it was getting really close. Plus, I desperately needed like a mental health day because I was just really run down and things have been really hectic. So I had this day off scheduled, and I was really looking forward to having a 3-day weekend. And miraculously last weekend, I actually was fiddling around with my camera again and jiggling cords and doing all kinds of stuff, and it turned back on. So I think it was like a connection issue with one of the cords. It made me feel so much better because I did not know how expensive it was going to be. I thought I might have to ship my camera off to like Nikon and have them fix it. I'd found like a local camera shop that apparently did repairs. I was like, okay, maybe I'll try there first, and then if I have to, I'll ship this out. It was just, I did not want to spend another, $800 on a camera. I know plenty of cameras are more expensive than that, but my channel is not monetized, so I'm like, to then invest. I've already invested so much in makeup. I've invested so much in studio lights. I've invested in this camera. I've invested and invested and invested, and I've gotten zero return financially. So I'm like, to dump another $1,000 into a camera, I'm like, I can't. Like, I really can't justify it, unfortunately. So I was just really nervous about everything, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. And I was really grateful that it did turn back on, but last weekend, I was like, you know what? As much as now that the camera's working, I feel like I should really sit down and film something. I knew more importantly than that, I really needed to get myself together. I needed to get like right, and I really needed to just chill out because I've really been like burning the candle at both ends for years now. It was a really good thing I did, and I'm so grateful to y'all for being so patient with me. I really can't thank you enough for that. Last week, because I didn't film, I had some time to just sort of like be. And in that, I made a couple like challenges for myself. And one of the challenges that I made for myself was that I really wanted to try to go back to kickboxing. And since I had 3 days off, I'm like, one of these 3 days, get your behind to kickboxing. I've been nervous to go back because of my back, because I've hurt myself before. But it's my favorite exercise. I love it like more than I love lifting, and I really love lifting. It just makes me feel strong and powerful and capable. But kickboxing is like fun, and the time flies, and it's so cathartic to just wild out on a 300-pound bag. Honestly, I could not recommend it higher if it's something that you think you would enjoy. It is expensive. The studio I go to is pricey, but you get unlimited classes a month, which I think is great as long as you go, which I hadn't been going for a long time. I think the last time I went was in October. So it had been a minute. And that was, I think, like one day I went. And like before that was, I don't even know how long. Could have been a year. So I mean, as much as I love kickboxing, I just hadn't been going, paying for it and just not going to class. Like, I really felt guilty for not filming, but Doug reminded me, he's like, you said you weren't gonna film this weekend. You said you wanted to make time for you. And he was right, and I did. And I was like, I've got to just not feel guilty about this. I've got to take care of myself. It's like you've got to attach your own little face mask thingy in the plane before you help your neighbor type situation. Like, I really just needed to take care of myself. So that's what I did. And I feel like by kind of giving myself a little bit of a breather, by Monday, I felt ready to try to tackle some of the goals I had set for my weekend in terms of like kickboxing. One of the other trainers at the gym where I work with my trainer, he said something to me a couple months ago that I've really been like carrying with me and has helped me so much. And he said, oftentimes like the heaviest weight you're gonna lift in the gym is the door. And that has been like with me. I've been carrying it with me because it's so true. I think oftentimes like the hardest thing about, working out is just showing up. It's, putting on your workout clothes and going. Because I can think of a million excuses as to why I shouldn't, or, I don't have time or whatever. I reserved myself for the class, which was nerve-wracking because, you can always cancel. You have to like reserve on the app that they have. And like I said, you can cancel once you book, but, I didn't want to. I didn't want to book and then cancel. So I'm like, okay, I'm committed. I'm going to do this. And I went to kickboxing, and let me just tell you, I had such a fun time. I loved it. I loved the workout. I left feeling so proud of myself and so inspired. I felt so much better about like the stress I've been under, and I was able to get out like a lot of aggression, which I really needed to do. It was wonderful. It was so wonderful that I rebooked. This was on Monday, so I'm like, I'm gonna try to go back on Wednesday. So Wednesday came, I had to go into the office. We're gonna start going into the office, I think like once a week. But I packed my workout stuff on Wednesday when I went into the office, and I went to kickboxing afterwards, and I had such a good time that I booked again for the next day. I went to kickboxing 3 days last week, and I haven't done that in years. I remember the last time I went 3 days a week, they were doing this like ab challenge, and one of the instructors, like you had a calendar and the instructor would like sign off on that date. And of course, me with accountability, having that other person have to sign off on something, that was that motivator that I needed at the time. And I changed my diet. They had like a little eating plan that went with it for this like 3-week ab challenge. So I changed my eating plan for those 3 weeks, and I ate like a cleaner diet. And I showed up 3 days a week and got my little signatures. And I saw an actual real change in my body in those 3 weeks. And I was in much better shape at the time than I am now. It made me so happy that I actually went 3 days in a week and without a challenge, like being accountable only to myself. And I think a big part of that was that I had that time, thank you for your grace. I had that time to kind of like get my motivation up and get mentally prepared for this. And I'm so happy that I did. Then Samantha March, if you guys follow her, she has a digital calendar that she did this year. It was like $29 for the whole year. And then every month she sends out a new calendar. She sends out a word search. She sends out like a motivational like email where she talks a little bit about like the things that she's doing and what's inspiring her, which I always find really encouraging and inspiring. And she sends out like a goals sheet you can fill out. And as embarrassing as this sounds, I purchased her calendar, I think when it first came out, which was like early February, and I haven't filled it out. And I bought her stationery last year, and I haven't filled anything out. And it's not because it isn't a great system. It's because I had so little faith in myself that I would actually do anything I set out to do, that I didn't want to put pen to page and document things that I just didn't have confidence that I would follow through with, if that makes any sense. Well, after doing the kickboxing 3 days in a row, I decided on Friday to actually sit down and fill out the April calendar, which to me it may sound silly, but it was so encouraging, and like it helped me so much that like I started to have a little bit more faith in myself enough to like put pen to page and really kind of track out what I want to accomplish this month. Outline for myself the different things that I want to, try to do. I added to my goals that I would like to go to kickboxing 3 days a week like I did last week. I really enjoyed that. I didn't find it hard. I didn't resent it. I wasn't like, oh, like grumble, I don't want to do this. Like, I can't wait to go on Monday. Like, I can't wait to go back. And I added that I also would like to add in like 1 strength training session a week. Now, I mean, ideally, I'd love to have more than 1, but I also sometimes don't know when enough is enough. I can tend to be a perfectionist. I'm very type A, and I'll push myself until I break. That's my personality, unfortunately. I'm super duper hard on myself. I don't want to set myself up for failure, and I don't want to burn out. And I think that kickboxing right now is something that I look forward to and something I can more easily commit to several days a week than, lifting weights. Lifting weights I enjoy, but it doesn't like bring me like happiness. I don't leave the gym feeling like, woohoo! I leave feeling like I accomplished something and like proud of myself, but I don't leave in like a really great mood, where when I leave kickboxing, I leave in a really great mood. And I think that right now that's the thing that I want to spend a little bit more time doing. So I'm like, I want to lift on Saturdays like I did when I was with Brian. And so I wrote it on my little calendar, and it didn't even start this week. Like, I don't even get to count anything that I did this week because like I have it started April 3rd. So technically today. Yeah, so it starts today. But I wanted to kind of like have a practice run week last week. So I actually did end up going to the gym yesterday, and I worked out for about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. And then I took myself a nice little date to Sprouts Market. I have never been there, and I've been hearing a lot about them. And so I Googled to see if they were around me. I know Michelle Wong's talked about going to Sprouts on her channel. And I've, watched a lot of plant-based channels, and, just, I wanted to see, is this something that's around me at all? And there was one in Delaware that isn't like too far from me. So I was like, let me check that out. So I went there, went to Sprouts, picked up some food. It was very sunny out yesterday, and it was really nice. I enjoyed myself. And then I think I'm going to try on Sundays, some Sundays, not all Sundays, because I obviously need to film at some point in time. I made myself a goal for this month to go to yoga, which they also have at my gym. It's like a free class included in my membership. But they have like a weekend class, or they have 2 weekend classes. Like I could go to either one, but I want to try to go to yoga maybe like once a month. I think it could be really good for like flexibility and maybe like toning and just like mind body connection type situation. Just like a nice, I don't know, like a nice practice. I have that on my goals in addition to the kickboxing 3 days a week and lifting once a week. And then I made a couple other goals, some social goals, some personal goals. And it just felt so good to write everything down and to see these things as like, worthy of my time and focus. It feels really good to be going into this, motivating myself and sort of designing my own plan. It feels good to feel like this is, possible. Like I've got a schedule for myself that is exciting to me and that I'm looking forward to and not like feeling resentful toward. I'm proud that I'm finding the ability to motivate myself, which is what I really struggled with the most. And I'm so grateful for having these facilities nearby me, for the ability to afford to go to them. I'm grateful for my trainer who has been such a source of knowledge, inspiration, encouragement, and friendship. I just feel ultimately happier than I felt in years. Like this past week, even Doug noticed. He's like, I'm so like happy for you. And I don't know. I feel really good. And I wanted to basically share all this with y'all just because I consider y'all friends and I love talking to you guys about different stuff, but also just sort of to, I guess, be a little bit of like an example maybe that you can even be like me and not know necessarily what's next. I felt very like I was fumbling through things at the beginning of this year. And I mean, clearly I'm still learning, growing, yada, yada, but just to find out that like when I started to improve one area of my life, like decided to make a change in one area, that it's really helped give me the confidence and bandwidth to improve other areas of my life as well. This year has been very interesting. It's had its ups and downs, but it's okay. It's all okay. And I'm so proud of who I am and the woman I've become and how I can really bounce back. And I want to let you all know that that's within you as well. You can do anything, anything. It may not always look pretty. It may not always be easy. You may ugly cry like I did, but we're imperfect. We're imperfect people, all just trying to do the best that we can. And I want to encourage you that if there are things that you want to accomplish that maybe you've been putting off or feeling like you're not strong enough or ready yet, I mean, we don't know unless we try. And something that I've learned in kickboxing is don't let your mind tell you you can't. Your body is so much stronger than you think it is. And that has helped me a lot. And I think it can be carried into like so many other things in life, not just like fitness or whatever, but any goals that we're looking to accomplish or changes we're looking to make in our lives. I feel like it's so easy for me to tell myself all the reasons that I can't or shouldn't or aren't worthy or don't deserve to. And if you're giving yourself that same kind of like negative talk, I'm here to tell you that you can, that you deserve it, that you deserve to be happy and healthy, and that you are absolutely valuable. So go out there and kick some butt. I absolutely believe in you. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk, and thank you so much for being here with me today. I love you all so much, and until the next video, bye.